Welcome, everyone. My name is Douglas Burns with Culturally Creative Travel. I am your host for this chat, and with me today is Susan Shultz with American Cruise Lines, and we are talking about river cruising and coastal cruising in the United States. And I think most people, when they think of river cruising, they think immediately of Europe, and understandably so. There's some wonderful rivers and wonderful destinations in Europe to travel to, but we tend to forget what's in our own backyard. And given that we're recording this in the middle of the pandemic, and domestic travel, I really do believe is where people are going to want to start. The people I'm talking to are already saying, I want to spend my money helping boost the American economy and get the American economy up and running again. And we don't see what's in our backyard. We don't visit what's around us. And you guys do. You guys take people to those places that we just don't think about on some of the great rivers in North America.
It's so true, and exactly what you're saying is exactly what I'm hearing, is that people do want to travel. They still want to travel, but they are going to come back and they're going to want to travel domestically first. I'm hearing that across the board. And what's amazing is, I've been in this industry for over 20 years. And I've been with this company for over 20 years. And American Cruise Lines is just an incredible company. I kind of like to give a little bit of background about American Cruise Lines first, because I think it kind of shows you what kind of a product that we really are. Charles A. Robertson was the founder of American Cruise Lines. He's recently passed away, and his three sons are now taking over the business. So it's a family-owned business. It's very financially stable. And what I think is unique is we actually have a shipyard that builds our own vessels. So our vessels are brand new. Majority of them are brand new vessels, and we have built them ourselves. They're American built, which is good too. But we also offer, what I think is unique is we offer over 35 different itineraries just here in the United States. I think people go, wow, really? Where do you go? I think that's our biggest thing, is they just don't know we even exist.
I want to interrupt you for just a moment, because when I was preparing for this interview, I'm going through trying to say what destinations we're going to talk about. I said, I can't type all of this up.
You can't, it's
there's
true.
just so many options to choose from.
It's true, and it's not, and I think it's a good option. It's a very, and I'll get into the itineraries, I'm sure, later. But I think it's a good opportunity for those people that have cruised the rivers in Europe and all over the world. This is a great opportunity to step back, come back, and get to know your own country. We really do. You said it before, we have an absolutely gorgeous country, and little spots, little nooks and crannies that you would never think, because we're small enough. Our ships hold between 100 and no more than 200 passengers. So you can just imagine the personalization that you receive while you're on board with our vessels. I think that's what our clientele likes. We have a specific clientele, and that's what they want. They don't want to be a number. They want to be a name, and that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, I think
Would
for
you
those
like me to
listening in
go?
who are maybe unfamiliar with river cruising in general, this is not your big ocean going cruises, and there's nothing wrong with the major cruise lines. I've sailed on them. I enjoy my time on board, but that's not this experience. This is not the resort at sea. This is a boutique offering that will take you to some out of the way destinations, small towns, big towns. You step off the boat and you're there.
Right, and you are. We have, I think, done something very unique. I think a lot of people have thought river cruising in Europe was like the old barges, and they were refurbished, and that's what they were thinking that river cruising was. That's not so anymore. We really took a big leap and really went out and have really modernized all of our river boats, and has just taken it to a new level. We really have revolutionized river cruising here in the United States. Our ships, almost all of them, are all balconies, private balconies, no inside staterooms. And as I said before, they're only hold between 100, some are only 96 guests, up to 200. And that's just really exciting. And I think I would hope everyone would go, and actually, maybe Douglas, you could show them some of the pictures, or go onto our website, because they're phenomenal. Some of the videos and the virtual tours that we have of the ships are just amazing.
Yeah, and they are beautiful ships, and you're taking it even into a new direction, because we think of, we'll get into the destinations in just a minute, but typically people think of, when we're sailing on rivers in the United States, the first image that comes to mind is the paddle wheeler, and y'all have the paddle wheeler, and
Yeah.
there's something perfectly nostalgic about an American paddle wheeler on an American river. But you're also building some brand new ships, some modern river cruise ships that are just gorgeous. And I think, from what I understand, that they're clamoring for that.
They are. And, the Mississippi River and the Columbian Snake River, it just kind of tends towards that paddle wheeler. That's what it always has been. But we decided to change that up a little bit. We do have the paddle wheelers on both of those rivers, but now we also have introduced the modern riverboat. And most people absolutely love it. You have decks that are four decks with all glassed in atriums. You have different little nooks and crannies that you can go into, plenty of lounges and spacious. Our staterooms are anywhere between, they start at 250 on up to 800 square feet. That's how spacious the staterooms are.
And
They're
for people who
huge.
are not aware, uh, even on large cruise ships, the mega cruise lines, you're not getting a stateroom at 170 square feet or 180 square feet.
No,
You're getting
no.
something around 130 square feet generally on a standard cabin on a large cruise ship. So to have a cabin that starts at 180 or 190 square feet is just spacious. Kudos to you guys for having that available on the product. Let's talk, though, destinations, because at the end of the day, that's
Sure.
what this is all about, and it's going out and seeing those destinations. And we talked about the Mississippi, and Old Man River, that is the quintessential American river experience, I think, and it's the one that everybody immediately goes to first. And y'all divide it up. We've got the Upper Mississippi and the Lower Mississippi.
That is
So
true. We do the whole
let's hit
entire
the Lower
Mississippi.
Mississippi first, because I think I'm from the South. I mean, I live in Texas now. My mother is a daughter of Southern Mississippi. My wife has family in New Orleans. We're big fans of the Lower Mississippi. I want you to fill me in on all the wonderful things that you guys offer on that itinerary.
Okay, we're going to be here about 6 hours. Be here about 6 hours. Well, we start off, we do, just to let you know, we do have those that don't want to do long cruises. We have anywhere between 4 nights and 21 nights on the Mississippi River. And we start with, probably one of our most popular is the Lower Mississippi, that goes from New Orleans to Memphis, or the reverse. And those, just what a wonderful thing. I mean, we don't need a dock to actually go to some of these areas. We actually can go right up, and we're docking right into that port of call there. We actually have a pending on one of our modern riverboats, where it retracts out and you walk out from the bow of the ship, and it just goes right onto the land. It's
That
very
is
amazing. It
and that
really
is
is.
quintessential.
But
That
go
is
ahead.
historic. The way riverboats on the Mississippi used to do it is you have that swinging pier, or swinging
Yep.
gangplank that just swings out and takes you right onto the on a shore on the river.
I think and I'll talk about all the different ones, but a lot of times everything that I say about this one particular itinerary, the amenities, anything on onboard experience goes across the board on our fleet. But on the Mississippi, on the Lower Mississippi, you would say, for example, I'm just going to kind of give you an example of what happens. In New Orleans, you would come in the night before. We have a pre-night hotel that's complimentary. We will pick you, you get to the hotel, then we will pick you up the day of the cruise. We have our own motor coaches that follow the ships. So they stay on our motor coaches with big American Cruise Lines all over, which is really nice. They're quite branded.
You can't mix
And
them up with
we
anybody else
pick
in
you up,
town.
take
That's
you
for
to,
sure.
and no. And prior to us picking you up, we actually pick up your luggage from the hotel, so that we do a tour. We'll do a city tour prior to boarding of New Orleans, and then you come on board. all of your luggage is already in your staterooms. You're all set, and you go to a nice lunch. So that's how easy that transition is for our guest. Then we do usually depart around 12:30, 1:30 the latest, and we're off going on the river. Whether we're going to Vicksburg and doing just, I mean, everybody. Vicksburg is such a historical town. We do Oak Alley, where you actually see the oak trees. That is absolutely gorgeous. I've been there so many times, but one time I remember Christmas time is a really nice time to be along the rivers as well too. They have all the homes that all the mansions are all, you know, decorated for holidays and so forth. And of course, when you go on to Oak Alley, you have to try a mint julep.
Of
You
course.
do. We all, yeah. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I missed the Derby last weekend. I'm not happy, but anyway, we're going to get back to normalcy, that's for sure. And we're definitely going to be cruising. So we have that lower Mississippi that really does go from New Orleans all the way up to Memphis, and you know, do Graceland and so forth. There's just so many different things to do. And when you're on board, we have an onboard historian expert that does do lectures and also does other different things. They're both, he or she, are very knowledgeable in the area. Sometimes we call them riverlorians. They know that river backwards and forwards. And by the time when you get off that ship, you're going to know all about the Mississippi River.
And that's something you do fleet wide, though. You bring on historical experts and historians and people who are extremely knowledgeable, both as well as a naturalist, depending on the itinerary, extremely knowledgeable in the region and the history and the fauna that people are going to see throughout their vacation. And it's such an enriching opportunity for people on board, I think.
It really is. I mean, I don't want to say it's an educational, because you're having fun too. It's,
Oh, yeah.
but you're learning. And I think a lot of people, they want to go on the cruises, but this isn't a casino, what do I want to say? Big slides and all that kind of stuff. That's not what we're all about. We're about really the destination and getting to learn about the destination. And along the way, you're going to have a lot of fun. We'll have nightly entertainment. We'll have local entertainment that will come on board. So you don't have the same entertainers all the time. We have just recently really enriched our offshore excursion program. So you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. We do have on the Mississippi River and the Columbian Snake River, most of the excursions are featured shore excursions, and those are actually included in the price. So there's a lot of things that are included in the price. We do have a complimentary cocktail hour every evening. It's really not an hour. It's really longer than an hour. And then they love it. Our guests love it because you know what? They were out visiting the different ports all day, and they came back and they're mingling with like-minded passengers. That's what we have on board. These people really, they come with themselves, or we have a lot of single travelers, or they travel with their spouse or a friend, and they walk away with a good 10 new friends. And let me tell you, they cruise again and again with us, and they do it
And
in
it's
groups.
it's
They
it's
feel so comfortable.
yeah, that's something I've noticed, that if you're on a river cruise, no matter what river you're on in the world, these are for the most part like-minded passengers. It's going to be hard to not find people that you're not going to have some wonderful. I've had some fabulous conversations with people on small boat
Yes.
cruising, because you have a similar interest in the region, similar interest in the history, in the travel style, and so it's a wonderful way you're right, to meet new friends. Going upriver on the Mississippi, though, you got, we can't go upriver without talking about Mark Twain, Hannibal, Missouri, and that's a major focus, I know, for you guys on your upper Mississippi itineraries.
We do. We could actually go from New Orleans all the way up to St. Paul, Minneapolis, or we can do from St. Paul, Minneapolis down to New Orleans. That one is 14 days. The prior one is 21 days. Then we have where you can go from Memphis to St. Louis. We have St. Louis to St. Paul, or the reverse. We also offer a lot of theme cruises. So we have a Mark Twain theme cruise, or we have a Civil War theme cruise. So you can really pick and choose what you would like to do. There's some really interesting ones. We also have ones from St. Louis up to Pittsburgh, and then we also are doing the Cumberland rivers, as well as the Ohio River. So Wherever there's a river, American Cruise Lines has a cruise. We do.
No, it's true. It's true, and it's. I think people don't realize how many rivers crisscross this continent, and we do. We live on a continental country. You've got feeding into the Mississippi. You've got the Ohio River, and you got the Cumberland River, and both wonderful itineraries. Here again, I was just making some notes earlier today. From coming down the Ohio, it's really the gateway into the historic gateway into the West, starting in Pittsburgh all the way down and through the confluence and then up to St. Louis. And I notice you've got tours to the Beam Distillery, and that must be just a heavenly tour by itself.
I have been on that tour.
Behind the scenes looked at Churchill Downs, the Audubon Museum, and of course Audubon was instrumental, I think, in educating Americans, especially 19th century Americans, on the diversity of flora and fauna,
Yes.
with his beautiful, absolutely gorgeous illustrations. And then on the Cumberland River, if you're into country music and bluegrass music, oh my, that's the itinerary you want to be on. 'Cause
It is.
the Grand
Absolutely.
Ole Opry and the mother church of country music there at the Rhynum Auditorium. One of these days, I will get on that stage. I don't care if I have to beg, borrow, or steal. I'm going to get on stage at the Rhynum.
I was close to it. I was close. But yes, I think what's nice is that all of our excursions that we do are very guided. So we have our crew members, our cruise directors that are going with our passengers. They want that they want that personalization, and that's where we're able to give. We don't just go, you can do whatever you want, go on whatever, self-guided tours. These are really guided tours. That's what our guests look for. If they want to do something different, they're more than welcome to. They can go on and off as they please on the ship. It's very easy. You can imagine with only 200 passengers, it's pretty easy.
I think it's a great way to totally customize your vacation, because you may find that in Port A that you're not as familiar with what's out there to do, or you're maybe more interested in a particular piece of history, and you want to get some of that feedback from your guided tour. Whereas in Port B, you may have something special that you want to go see, and it's your vacation. Go see it, enjoy it, and take that time.
And we're able to help you do that too. So we will help you whatever you want to do. I have people that come on and do golf groups, and we'll get them. We'll take them if they want to do 18 holes and we're leaving the ship. We will get them from their golf course back to the ship. So it's very, all I can say is very personalized, which is good.
That's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous. One of the other, I think, popular rivers for river cruising in this country, going out west, is the Snake and Columbia rivers, and very popular, very diversified offerings out there.
Yes.
Of course, you've got the history with Lewis and Clark, but it's also a wonderful place to explore some of the culinary treats of the region. It's a major wine producing region. I don't think many people realize that. They know Southern California wines, but Oregon wines and Washington wines, I don't think people are as familiar with.
They're not, but they're becoming extremely popular because we do have wine-themed cruises. So we have a wine expert that's on board, and she really does get into the pairing with the chef, and they go and visit these different wineries together. They have lunch at the wineries. So, it's really very interesting. And we also do some breweries as well, too, because those are always popular all over the whole entire country. They popped up everywhere. But our passengers do enjoy the wineries that we go to and visit in that area, and they are excellent. They are. Multnomah Falls. What a gorgeous area. If no one's ever been to Multnomah Falls, it's absolutely beautiful. And you go, this is our country? Yes, it's our country. There's some just gorgeous areas. And the Columbian Snake River is very popular for the history of Lewis and Clark, which you said. We have some excellent experts that are on board. We have one that is Todd Weber, who has his little following, because once they get to know him, they just go, okay, when's your next cruise? When's your next cruise? I'm just going to follow you. He dresses up in the period costume and he gets into it, and he's wonderful. It's really nice to watch when they do presentations. Our passengers are so engrossed in what he's saying, and all of our onboard experts. So it's nice to see.
And I think that speaks volumes, because it's more than just a lecture at that point. It's also entertaining. It's part of that whole entertainment package that you're offering.
Right.
You know, and the here again, and Snake and Columbia, beautiful region, and also it's a very active region. I was noticing there's a number of, for those who might want a little more adrenaline, you offer a couple of tours, and a couple of trips along that itinerary that'll get your heart pumping. And I'm thinking specifically about that jet boat ride.
Yes. Yeah. It's not as fast as you think. Everybody goes, how fast? It's not as fast, but it's really an experience that you need to be on. You have to. It's an excellent experience.
One of those must-see.
And you know, it's the vegetation on the Columbian Snake River, when you go from Portland, Oregon to the Dalles, oh my gosh, the change in vegetation is just amazing. It cut and dry right there. It just changes. And it really is all due to the waterfall, the rainfall that you have experience on either side.
Yeah. One of the problems with being in this business is my bucket list grows exponentially every single day. I got to go see this place. I got to go see that place, and it's just and here again, these are all in our backyard. That we don't have to grab a passport. A lot of these places we could drive to pick up the ship. So it's very easy to get there and to see some of these places. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the Hudson River. Here again, talking about bucket list trips. And you do it in the fall, which I think is the absolute best time in the world to do that particular itinerary. It's just another itinerary that I think many people think about sailing on.
They don't. And and we have 3 ships that do the Hudson River Fall Foliage every year. It's such a short season. It's 5 to 6 weeks, and you will hit the peak somewhere along the river between New York and Albany, New York. You'll hit it sometime along that way. And I can see pictures all the time, but I live up in this area, so I go to the Hudson River quite frequently. And pictures don't do it. They don't do the colors. They're just, you have to see them in person. And what a better way to go see them is on the river. And you're seeing it from a totally different perspective than you are when you're driving.
Absolutely. It's to see because you're getting out in the countryside. It's more than just going from town to town. You're passing through some beautiful countryside as you're sailing up and down any of these rivers. But truly, the Hudson going all the way up to the Catskills before coming back into New York. It's beautiful. The last river that y'all sail on, and I think I know I was unaware until I started researching.
I know which one you're saying.
Yeah, Florida. No one thinks of rivers in Florida. Florida's where the mouse is. Florida's where the ocean goes. Right. There's rivers in Florida? Come on.
Like, whoever heard of the Talamado River or the St. Johns River? I've actually been on all of our cruises, but the St. Johns River and the Talamado is amazing. It really is. You start out in the Jacksonville area, and what's amazing when I'm on board, you feel like when you're out on either your brain freeze here, either on the upside, your balcony, I wanted to say it, balcony, or up on the outside decks. When you're going on those rivers, we have such a shallow draft that we're able to really go into areas that other large ships just can't get to. And they're very smooth, protected waters. But what's unique about the St. Johns River is there are times when you can really almost reach out and touch the dock, the banks, and you see the alligators and the wildlife and all the birds. It's amazing. And it's kind of, that area is a little bit set back in time too. But then also you go to St. Augustine, where, the rich and famous used to do their vacations. It's gorgeous. So that St. John's, I really think the Great Rivers of Florida cruise is a hidden treasure.
And it's one here again. I I never knew there was rivers in Florida, so it's definitely something to add to that list. And like I said, here it goes, growing exponentially yet again. And even being from the South, the diversity of wildlife in that
Hmm.
part of the country, I think it's more. I think it's a more ecologically diverse a section of this country than probably anywhere else that we may have, between the variety of animals and plant species and whatnot, including the ones that sting and bite. And but it's all part of the I think it's all part of the exploration. You got to go see the
It
alligators and
is.
the egrets and just have an absolute
I
ball.
agree. And the manatee too. I mean, we have where the captain will sometimes, if we see the manatee, we'll stop and they can just see the manatee around the ship. It's amazing.
Oh, how wonderful!
We do it all the
Wonderful.
time.
Yeah, that I just makes my mouth water.
America, a nation rich in history and boundless optimism, from sea to shining sea. From the epic route of Lewis and Clark to the revolutionary spirit of our founding fathers, we are a nation of pioneers, ideas, and adventures. With American Cruise Lines, you can experience it all. Bask in the scenic beauty of the heartland. Savor the tradition of a New England lobster bake. Feel the warmth of true Southern hospitality. Step back in time aboard our modern riverboats and explore what defined us as a nation. Cruise close to home with American Cruise Lines. Small ship cruising done perfectly.
We've sailed all these wonderful rivers, but you also offer some incredible coastal cruising options. We're talking with Susan with American Cruise Lines today. Um, the coastal options, I think, are really what sets you guys apart. You offer some incredibly diverse river cruise itineraries, and I think people need to go out and see these locations. But some of the coastal cruising that you do is truly fascinating. Between New England and Maine and the islands of you have the islands of New England, and that's just on the East Coast. Plus, you do a one that takes on the entire. I don't have it on my notes right now, but I know that you got one that does the entire southeast coastline as well.
It does.
Fascinating itineraries and places to go visit, and with loads of history.
I'll tell you a little interesting little fact. We actually do well, there is the Intercoastal Waterway that is on the East Coast, and it's about 3,000 miles of water. And that's where we go. We can go in the Intercoastal Waterway, again, because of the shallow draft. No other, the bigger ships can't get in there. And it's very smooth, protected waters all the way. So we do I'll start us off with Maine Coast. Well, if you like lobster, you got to do the Maine coast. I mean, I'll give you an example of one of our shore excursions that we offer. We have a real lobsterman that comes, and he comes on board and he talks about everything about lobster, the history of lobster, how to eat lobster, everything about lobster. And then, of course, you're going to go eat the lobster. But then he also will the next day take 6 to 7 people out at a time on his lobster boat, and he actually shows them how they catch the lobster. So it's really very hands-on and interesting what our passengers get to do. What I think it is important is that when you go to these you go on our different cruises, they're very regional. So you're going to get a different flavor on every single one, a different flavor every single time. Maine Coast, you're going to get the Maine Coast feel. And truly, I've vacationed in Maine by land, and I vacationed in Maine by our cruises. There's no better way to see the Maine coast. One thing we don't do, which I like, is we never overwhelm our ports of call. With having only 200 guests, our ports of call love us coming in there. When vision yourself with 3,000 or 4,000 people going into a port, that port changes immediately when they have that. With us, we don't overwhelm our ports of call. They really do enjoy having us in there. And, a lot of times you'll even see the fife and drum come meet our ships when they come into port.
Oh, how exciting.
It's so exciting. And then just one other, that's the Maine coast. Then we also offer the New England Islands. And one thing you need to know, New England Islands, you have Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, all of those, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, oh gosh, why am I like Block Island? You actually get to go to every one of those islands. Unpack once, come on board, and we are always in our different areas at the peak time. So just for an example, just to do New England Islands, it's difficult to get to all the islands when it's peak time. And we actually you come on board, we're going to take you there. We're going to have all your entertainment, all your meals, everything you need to want. And then we just take you to those excellent islands where you go and do some offshore excursions, which is great.
It's a truly inclusive vacation experience, and one that you don't have to worry about. You're not being nickeled and dimed along the way. And it's really enjoyable. I want to wrap up just your destinations, because you also do Puget Sound out of Seattle, which here again I don't think many people realize that you can sail. No. They used to go to Seattle, getting on the big ships to go up and down the inside passage there in Alaska on the big ships, and here again, there's nothing wrong with any of that. But to sail within Puget Sound, which is here again protected waters, an incredible sense of wildlife there. You've got the orcas and the eagles and the whales, and then if you bring your passport, you could actually go off and see Bouchard Gardens. You do have to bring your passport to go see Bouchard Gardens. That is going into a foreign country. We don't like to think of them that way, but they are our neighbors to the north. That is true. You do offer a couple of wonderful Alaskan itineraries, and I wanted to ask you very specifically, because here again, most people when they think of the Alaska cruise, they think of the big ship cruising. What sets you guys apart in Alaska? What can you do in Alaska that the big ships can't?
What we can do is we actually have a permit that allows us to go into Glacier Bay with our ship. Passengers are on their balconies looking at this absolutely gorgeous view. We have intercom systems where we actually have the park ranger that comes on board our ship and goes into Glacier Bay. You have such an incredible up-close personal view. I can't describe it any other way.
I've sailed to Alaska on one of the big ships, and we had the balcony cabin. We did everything right, and we're looking at seals on the icebergs on Tracy Arm, and they were about that big. They looked like ants. You're just so far away on the big ships. Your ships are only 4 or 5 decks tall at max. So you're very close to the water the whole time.
Max.
So
you are really right there.
You can't get much closer, I don't think, to the wildlife without just getting in a little skiff or something. It's just that's an incredible experience to get that close to the wildlife in Alaska.
There is one thing I have to say on our Alaska cruises, something unique that we do. We have a chocolate bar to die for.
Uh-oh.
It is so delicious, and we have it up on our observation deck and when we're in Glacier Bay, so it is just amazing. So if you're chocolate fans out there.
chocolate in Glacier Bay, what could be better? Honestly, what could be better? One area you guys don't sail, but your sister company does sail, and that's the Great Lakes. Another wonderful opportunity to get onto American waterways. We share that border with Canada, but it's your sister company, Pearl Seas Cruises. I had to get that out right. Just give us a very quick rundown of what that itinerary looks like there within the Great Lakes.
Well, we have a few. It's we do some 10 nights and 7 nights. Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway, Georgian Bay, and you're going from Milwaukee through the Great Lakes. Again, one ship, the Pearl Mist, which holds up to 200 guests. So you still have that up close personal view. You know, people don't realize the Great Lakes are pretty large. They're not. They're big lakes up
They're
there.
big lakes with their own ecosystem
So
and their own weather system.
They do, they do. But you know, when you're going through St. Lawrence Seaway and Georgia Bay on such a smaller vessel, again, it's the views that you're taking in, and the different ports that we go to that we don't overwhelm, and you really get to kind of feel what the region is truly like, and not with just like I don't want to say. I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with the larger cruise ships. Love them because once people do those, they come to us. They do, and once they find, we hear it all the time. Once they come on board our ship, oh my gosh, I'm never going to the large ships again. I'm never going to them. I'm done. So that's a good thing. But we also on Pearl Seas cruises, we are also offering Panama Canal cruises as too in the off season of the Great Lakes, because the Great Lakes is a pretty short season.
And that's a
Does get
full
cold up
transit
there.
through the Panama Canal, if I remember correctly, is it not?
Yes, it is.
So what?
Yes, it is.
Whereas a lot of the big ships, they only do partial transits. If you want to do a full transit, that's a wonderful way to see it, and it's one of the seven wonders of the modern world. So I think it's something that eventually everybody who's interested in cruising at all should take advantage of. Talking with Susan with American Cruise Lines, talking about cruising the great rivers and coastlines and Great Lakes throughout the USA and North America today. Need to spend a little bit of time talking about the products and stuff. And we've been coming in and out and talking around it and what sets you guys apart. The fact that you are small ships almost entirely. I mean, well, you are small ships entirely. And we have a cat I see jumping on your back.
I thought I closed the door. I'm so sorry. I'm like, what are you doing? You can edit this, right?
The fact that you guys sail small ships with, no more than, I think, about 180, I think it's 190 passengers is the absolute
190.
most that you guys carry. Very small, very intimate, wonderful way. The crew gets to know you. You get to know the crew. You are an American product. And for people who are interested in supporting the American economy, especially coming out of the pandemic and looking to travel and spend their money domestically, they should know you guys are American owned, American operated. Ships are built right here in the good old US of A, American crewed. You buy your groceries locally. And from what I understand, the cuisine on board, just really 5-star cuisine, right?
It is, and what I want to say about our cuisine is we do what we call cruise local, eat local, and I think it's important for both our guests because we are going out and purchasing the freshest ingredients. We're small enough we can do that. We're also supporting those different local ports, and I think that's really important, especially in this time that we're going through, that we help support all of our ports along the way. I think very important.
We talk about supporting small business all the time. This is a great way to do that. You're out there, you're having fun, but when you get off that ship, you know that the groceries that you're eating on board the ship are going to small companies that are producing local fresh food. You're shopping at the local mom and pop shops. You're visiting the history that the local people have helped create. You really are supporting the homegrown economy by getting on board an American Cruise Line ship and enjoying a vacation along the way. It's a wonderful opportunity there. I'm looking at my notes. We touched on the themed cruises. And I was gonna write down 3 or 4, and I was like, I can't do that. You've got like 30 or 40 themed
We do.
cruises
We have a lot.
there.
We have a lot.
What makes pick your theme, whether it be music, culinary, history, what makes the theme cruise special and different versus that same itinerary at another time?
What we'll do is just have a little bit more enrichment on that, extra, maybe a more personalized behind the scenes that we will do on some of these, but it's not overdone. Do you know what I'm saying? So somebody that went on a music cruise theme, we're still doing the same, very similar varieties, just a little extra, if that's what you want to say. Another expert might come on board. We might do more wine pairing than we usually do, that kind of thing. That's just a little step above.
Fabulous, fabulous. We've been talking today with Susan from American Cruise Lines and talking about all the wonderful places that we can sail to and cruise to in our own backyard without ever having to grab a passport. Well, we did mention one itinerary that you might want to carry a passport, but you don't need the passport to get on board the ship.
Right.
Susan, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. For folks, if you have any interest at all in learning more about American Cruise Lines and all the wonderful places that they sail to, do give me a call. My telephone number is 713-688-6793. Of course, you can always email me and visit the website at culturallycreativetravel.com. And be sure to like and subscribe so that you can stay informed and be notified of all the new options. We're building on this and trying to make this a regular part of our offerings to let you know what all there is to see and do and visit in this wonderful blue marble that we live on. The world is too small not to visit, but sometimes we do want to start in our own backyard, and I think this is a great place to do it. So, Susan, thank you again for coming on today.
Well, Douglas, thank you very much for having me, and we're looking forward to your guests coming on board with us.
Great.
We'd love to welcome them.
Wonderful. Well, folks, we'll see you down the road. I hope to talk to you soon.